it's the vibe, and no, that's it, it's the vibe.
Hello my darlings, and welcome to It's the Vibe, where I read books that got recommended to me on the subreddit, Books That Feel Like This. I never remember to write down the actual name of the subreddit, but I submit some pictures of books that have the essence, the vibe of what I want to read, and I let Reddit users do their thing, and this is one of my favorite subreddits. I love it here, everyone's fantastic. I both give recommendations and receive recommendations. It's a very reciprocal community. And like I said, these guys read some bizarre, unusual, unheard of stuff. And I appreciate that they have done that. They have been pioneers into finding these lesser known books so that I can now read these books. So my Patreons picked this month's theme, and these are the images that I submitted to Reddit. So I was expecting books that might be about puppets, that might be about television characters, that might be about childhood nostalgia and adult ennui, something of that vein. I was open to anything. I got a lot of recommendations. The ones I got recommended the most were The Hike by Drew Magary. Still don't, I should bloody look up how to pronounce these authors' names. Which I have already read and was a 5-star book for me. Do I think it fits the theme? Kind of. In a way, there's some animal puppet-like things occurring, I guess, but it's not quite what I would probably recommend for these pictures. And then the other book I got recommended the most was Dungeon Crawler Carl, which I also just read. And yeah, I can see, because Dungeon Crawler Carl has the video game-like element and talking cat / creatures, that you could sort of equate it with this. But once again, I don't think it was quite on the money of the vibe that I was going for. But I will tell you about 3 of the books that I did choose to read. Once again, they gave me so many options. I just chose 3 that I thought might suit the pictures the most out of the recommendations. Sorry, my ex-boyfriend just rocked up and he's dancing on the street. He's got his headphones on. And this is what I picked. So first up, we have They Threw Us Away by Daniel Kraus. To the main teddy bear, Buddy, being safe was more important than being free. And it's a teddy bear's duty to stick together. So the premise of this story is 4 squishy, wishy, softy, wafty teddies wake up in landfill. They have been thrown away like garbage and have ended up in the dump. They decide to try to find their way home. Where is home? Home is wherever a child is. This is touted as a middle grade. I would not recommend this for middle graders. Yeah, there are dark, heavy middle grade books that I think middle graders should read, like The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane, and this one falls into no man's land. It's not quite adult enough for adults. It's not quite middle grade enough for middle graders. Maybe teens might like this, but I'm not sure. It does talk about some ethics. Like, for instance, that once you start to see a group as individuals, it's harder to hurt them. So at one point there were a group of teddies and the creator decided to cull 90% of them. And her favourite teddy said, okay, we can do that. But first, don't you think it's right we give them a name and a grave to honour them? And when she had to give them individual names, she decided not to kill them. There's also a lot about capitalism and community and family, and I guess what really is one's purpose. There were cute illustrations, but this book is filled with a lot of teddy violence. There is a stack of casualties. And maybe I don't have a silk stitched heart in my chest, but I just didn't care. All these teddies were getting unstuffed and I didn't feel anything. It's like, am I dead inside? I just couldn't connect to this book. I also didn't like how one of the teddy bears seemed to be brain injured. Her box and head had been dented, and not only did it affect her speech and her personality, but she would violently self-harm. And I'm not sure that was a choice for a middle grade book. But I guess in this book, Buddy walked so Lotso could run. It had a massive Lotso vibe, but these are good teddies, not bad teddies. And yeah, I didn't really enjoy it, unfortunately. Does it fit the theme? Yeah, it's about childhood toys coming to life and realizing the world is a place and some people do really horrible things. And you don't always get a happy ever after. It does fit the vibe. Next up, I read I Found Puppets Living in My Apartment Walls by Ben Farthing, brought to you by the letter O. This is heavily Sesame Street. Instead, it's called Our City Street. It's about a young man whose grandfather used to work on Our City Street as a puppeteer and now lives in the former building that Our City Street was filmed in. It was shut down because there was a death of a child on set and his grandfather has gone missing. So along with his cousin, they go to their grandfather's apartment and try to find out what happened to Pops when a puppet appears through a rip in the apartment walls. It's hella creepy. It's definitely got the horror element in there. I had never really had an issue with soft puppets before. I think I'm still okay, but it was unsettling. But like I said, I have no fear of puppets. The cousins end up finding out that the apartment is not as it seems. And there's sort of like a labyrinthian level on there, and the further that they descend, the more messed up things get and the more that is revealed. And I guess it's looking a lot at childhood memories and how you can sometimes look back with rose-colored glasses and how adults in your lives, it's not that they weren't honest with you, but they were hiding a lot of the darkness from you, and how everything is not as innocent and as innocuous as it might seem. This was written in a very basic way. Its pacing was a little off to me. There wasn't really much character development going on. Some of the dialogue felt inorganic. It was okay. It was interesting. And I do think it definitely suited the theme of the pictures. You literally have almost Sesame Street-like puppets who have gone rogue and want to consume and dominate the earth. The final book I picked up was Mr. Magic by Kirsten White, and this is saturated in millennial nostalgia and the kids shows that we all grew up on. So you have a young woman who has amnesia, which is not a trope that I enjoy, and she was hidden by her father. She was told that they are safe now and not to go looking into her past. One day her dad dies and mysteriously these dudes rock up at her father's funeral claiming that they know her and that they all used to be on a children's television show together and that they're actually on their way to a reunion to film a podcast about this massive former hit. The main character's name is Valentine, which was a bit rough for me considering that's my daughter's name, so I didn't actually love that. But she decides, yeah, I don't know these randos that just rocked up and claim they know me, but I feel like I know them. So I'm just going to bounce from my dad's funeral, get in a car with them, drive across the country to some hella creepy former filming house that I was apparently a part of and film a reunion show. So she does, she goes across country, she reunites with some other kids that have also grown up. It's very odd and weird and strange because she doesn't remember anything and they're all treating her like they know her. And this is something that felt a bit weird that they were, when she left the show, she was only 8. And one of the guys in there was basically acting like she was his soulmate and he never was able to move on from her. And I'm like, bro, we've all had childhood friends, but if you left those friends at 8 years old, are you really going to be a 40-year-old thinking, man, I've never gotten over losing that friendship when I was 8? I just think it's too young. They didn't spend that much time together. It's not like they grew up together as babies either. They were just on a show for a bit. So that was not believable. The main character, yeah, it's hard for them to have personality when they have amnesia. That's just something that I find. This was, once again, about fallible childhood memories, but also heavy on the puritanical religious aspect. For instance, the kids / adults now sing a lot of these songs that they used to sing on the show that were very much promoting like modesty, doing what you're told, being good girls, not expressing oneself. It's as if these children, there's a whole thing about this show and it's very ominous and there's definitely a paranormal horror aspect with this. But the kids were put on this show because these kids were in a way, I guess, a bit wild, a bit rambunctious, and they needed some smoothing out. Their parents wanted obedient children, and this show was a way to do that. So I don't want to talk too much about the book. I don't want to give it away. I did find the pacing very slow and the plot was clunky. It just didn't have a smooth rhythm to it. And like I said, because of the character having amnesia, I didn't feel anything for any of the characters in this book, and I didn't really care what happened to them. Something I really did like about the book was the mixed media formatting. I'm a sucker for mixed media. If it's got a mixture of transcripts, text messages, memos, emails, PR posts, it just had, he's laughing, it just had so much different formatting, and I find that very entertaining, and it gives the book a bit more excitement, a bit more variety. So I did really love that about it. Did it suit the pictures and the vibe? Yeah, kind of. If you see the puppets as millennials expressing their frustration with the world that we currently live in and what we grew up to inherit and the whole thing of adulting, yeah, I can see myself in these characters that I grew up with as a millennial, and that was very big in this book. So they talk about, there's a lot of pop culture references. They slotted this show in with all the other shows like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and everything that we watched as kids, and I think that was a massive part of millennial culture, and our childhoods were the TV shows that we consumed growing up. It sort of unites us all because we have the same sort of, like I said, pop culture reference points and commonalities because we all watch the same shit, and it was formative. I think you are sort of influenced by what you consume, and if that's cartoons as a child, it does affect your vocabulary, it affects a lot of things. So I did like that aspect of this and how that millennials really we're holding on to those golden years of our childhood when things were still great, those 90s, early 2000s before everything went into a flaming ball of hellfire. So I thought the book was good. It could have been better, but I do feel like it fit the prompt. What would I recommend? I actually don't have anything that I can recall that would fit this prompt. If I was going to recommend a movie, it would be Ted. I would recommend Ted. But yeah, I didn't actually have anything that came to mind when I found these photos. So I was excited to see what everyone offered. Like I said, there was more that I have put on my TBR and I will read that sounded interesting to me, but I thought these ones might have fit the brief the most. So let me recap the books that I read for It's the Vibe. We have They Threw Us Away by Daniel Krauss, and read this if you always wished your teddy bear would come to life. Then we have I Found Puppets Living in My Apartment Walls by Ben Farthing. Read this if you like being swallowed, Frosty Flakes, and dirty rugs. Mr. Magic by Kirsten White. Read this if you're a millennial who grew up watching Saturday morning cartoons and are seeing a therapist to unpick your religious trauma. I think it's also important to read the author's note at the end, which helps to bring a bit more context to some of the more ambiguous parts of the story. So that was The Vibe. Those are the books that Reddit recommended to me. If you have a recommendation for these images, pop it down below. But I am taking my kids tonight to the NGV. I was this close to not doing it. I'm so tired, and the thought of leaving my house at 8:30 does not seem appealing, but because the kids spent a week at their dad's these holidays, which is the most they've ever spent, the rest of the time was filled with play dates and catch-ups with their friends, and all I have done with them is seen the movie Minecraft, or the Minecraft movie. What did I think of that? It was fine, it was entertaining. I think there was a massively missed opportunity for more humor in it, especially with Jack Black and Jason Momoa, their characters. I feel like, it could have been a lot funnier, and it could have had a few more, like, sort of more adult jokes slipped in there. So yeah, it wasn't as humorous as I was hoping it was going to be, but yeah, I was entertained. My 10-year-old Indy, who is a massive Minecraft fan, was a little upset about its inaccuracy. She was expecting it to be 100% correct and was pointing out all of the inconsistencies and incorrect things about it. But I'm like, honey, it's not about Minecraft. They're just trying to make something similar that's entertaining. So don't get me started on how they think Jack Black is not an accurate representation of Steve. And I try to tell them it's because Jack Black's a funny, entertaining guy. He's fun to watch. I don't think they cared about making Steve look exactly like Steve. But yeah, so that's all I've done with them. I've just seen a movie. So I wanted to do something because they go back to school tomorrow, which I know it's the night before school. It's going to be late, but they do want to go and see the exhibit. So hopefully we do have fun and it was worth going out. I just hope it was worth going out. But that I'll leave you with footage of our NGV adventures if we go, because I don't know, man, I'm still like this. I'm still like, maybe we stay in, maybe we just go and see a movie around the corner, I don't know. But otherwise, I'll see you later. Until next time, stay well, star child.
今こそ人生の明快への道途を指し示すことへさまよい出ていこうか。そしてそれ
I'm just waiting for Indiana's baby shower, and then we're going home. She'll like it. It's too bad for her.
It's just the vibe of the thing.